Welcome to Talkback, everybody. Brought to you by Spray Green Lawn, providing lawn aeration services, fertilization, and weed control. You can save 15% off your first application. Mention this ad, 207-9273. Office City, celebrating 100 years in business this year. See them for office supplies and furniture, price match guarantee, and free next-day delivery. Bullseye Wear, Missoula's only certified master optician, 2910 South Reserve, the old R.P. Ellis location. Call 552-1299, BullseyeWearMT.com. All right, here we are, ladies and gentlemen. That's John King over there. I'm Peter Christian, and want to say a couple things real quick locally. Went to the Elena informed us of what was going on over at the federal courthouse earlier this week. So I went over there and got some interviews with some folks who were there to talk about the case of Joseph Robertson. He was a 77-year-old gentleman from Basin, Montana, who evidently ran afoul of the EPA and Waters of the U.S., Fish and Wildlife Service and the Forest Service and a whole bunch of federal agencies, ended up being tried and convicted of fouling, violating the waters of the U.S. and all these.
Well, he built some ponds, right? Yeah. He's been accused of building some ponds, and that the silt from the ponds flowed into the public lands.
Exactly. So
he wasn't like mushing exotic owl species that are almost extinct or anything, as far as we know.
No. He was just messing with the land, although some of it was on his land, and according to Mike Cotter, who I spoke to, the U.S. Attorney for Montana, much of it was not on his land and also affected a bunch of other. So you can't just go in there and rip up the land and do whatever the heck you want just because you feel like it. So anyway, he kept ignoring, and go away. And so finally they just had to charge him with.
He should have got mayor involved, and they could have done an eminent domain thing, maybe, and then they could have had their own little water system.
Yeah, get the Montana Supreme Court involved.
Yeah.
But anyway, he was convicted. Actually, he was convicted in April, and he was sentenced yesterday to 18 months in prison, and then 3 years of supervised release after that, and fined. Okay, are you ready for the restitution? $130,000 in restitution.
I wonder what the supervised release guy's told to do. Like, just make sure he doesn't touch any shovels.
We're going to take away your cat.
That spoon seems a bit oversized, sir.
Caterpillar's what I meant. Anyway, so that's what happened to Mr. Robertson, and the story's on our website. Spoke with some of the protesters. Some very interesting, colorful characters. And so we have photos there. You can see that. So there you go.
So we also have some news of some firings, some layoffs.
Well,
right?
and this, I hate doing this because there's nothing official. We don't have a news release. We don't have, and I've been trying.
We called the company and got hung up.
Well, I've called. It's Watkins Shepherd Trucking. I mean, it's a great name, a great business in Missoula for many, many years. Okay, lots of people have worked for them or did work for them. From what I heard, there were some people walked into to work yesterday and were let go, and we don't know why. We don't know what the deal is. I can't get an answer from. I called the Helena office, which is their headquarters, and as soon as I identified myself as being from KGVO Radio in Missoula, I got hung up on. And the folks here in Missoula, I've left 3 messages with the Missoula office, have not heard back from them yet either. So. I hope to. I want to get the full story, but I guess there's a lot of folks out of work.
I called the Department of Labor. Usually when you have a firing or a layoff of a large magnitude, you have to notify the Department of Labor like 1 or 2 weeks in advance. So we'll see if I get anything back on this, find out how many people are affected. And
well,
how many
any time you get a bunch of people all laid off at once, I think it's sad news. People need to know about it, and so we're just trying to get as much information as we can so we can give an accurate report. So if anybody out there knows what's going on, I mean, really, if you've been affected by it, please feel free to give us a call if you'd like, 721-1290. So
yeah, we'd love to hear the story that's actually out there because, like we said, we couldn't get anyone to call us back.
I have tried very, very in many ways to get the story from management, and no one will talk to me. So,
all right.
There you go.
Now on to the hot political topic of the day.
Last night, ladies and gentlemen, Ted Cruz made his speech to the Republic. I am absolutely shocked that they let Ted Cruz talk.
I wonder why.
Because
he was runner-up. Usually you do let the runner-up speech, and it's usually a moment of great unification, and people waited more than 20 minutes into the speech.
Right.
This is at the tail end of the speech. They're waiting for Cruz to say, I endorse Donald Trump, or get out there and vote for Donald Trump.
Right,
and here's the last couple minutes of the speech, Peter, if you could play it while I answer the phone.
You get it. Okay, here we go. This is Ted Cruz from last night's Republican National Convention.
And to those listening, please, don't stay home in November. If you love our country and love your children as much as I know that you do, stand and speak and vote your conscience. Vote for candidates up and down the ticket who you trust to defend our freedom and to be faithful to the Constitution.
You want Trump is what they're saying.
Oh, they're saying endorse Trump. They're saying endorse Trump.
Oh, yeah, okay. Oh, it's a mixed crowd.
I appreciate the enthusiasm of the New York delegation.
Oh, man.
By the way, Trump's family and Trump's faces.
Right.
His love of freedom,
priceless,
that has allowed millions to achieve their dreams.
Okay,
right, there you go.
Okay.
They show some pictures of Trump during this moment, and he's got that furrowed bottom lip kind of stir. He got the kind of pit bull look.
But he give a thumbs up, though.
And later, I have a clip of someone that interviewed the Trump family, or tried to, as they were leaving the stage. If you look for the Chris Christie Speaks,
right?
We'll play that in just a second. I did get an update on Watkins Shepard. We have a source that told me that she was very close to what's going on, said that Watkins Shepard was sold to another company, and that the original family, the Shepard family, is out of it for sure.
Right.
And she was unsure about the Watkins family.
Okay, so, and you know,
what company?
Having been part of a business where our company, our radio stations have been bought and sold many times.
About every 7 years.
Over the years, okay. There are always changes. There are always disruptions. That's just the nature of corporate America. That's what happens. However, when people get late, when a whole bunch of people, and I'm not sure how many a whole bunch are, it could be 5, it could be 10. I have no idea how many there are. All I know is there's some folks who are without work right now, so I don't know what kind of a package they got, or the amount of pay that they received. I have no, because nobody will talk to me. So anyway, we're just kind of fumbling around in the dark, and I just, if anybody's been affected by this, our hearts and the thoughts are with you. Hope everything's going to be okay. We are up against a break. 721-1290 is our number. And we'll come back and play what Chris Christie said about Mr. Cruz and his speech. He was not happy.
No.
So we'll be right back. And we are back on Talkback. 721-1290 is our number. And we're having open phones for the first half hour. Then we have a guest at 9, right?
That's right. Now, by the way, so nothing Ted Cruz said. He didn't say don't vote for Trump.
Right.
He didn't explicitly say he didn't support Trump.
He did.
In fact, during most of the speech, he used a lot of the agreeing ideas that he and Trump had.
Sure.
But what he did say was vote your conscience. And why that is a key phrase is because this whole, before the delegates, this is a convention for delegates.
Right.
Last week, they were trying to get a conscience clause, allowing people to vote their conscience. And what that would have done is let delegates vote for whoever they wanted, not necessarily Trump. So that's why that's a key phrase.
Yeah. But if you remember, he did say at the opening of the speech, I congratulate Donald Trump on being named the Republican candidate for president. And yay. Okay, so olive branch there. And then he pulled it back with the whole conscience thing.
Well, I do think that the vote your conscience phrase was deliberately intended to gain Cruz personal support and not help Trump, right?
And there I was watching some of the other pundits. Evidently, they released the text of the speech about 10 minutes before he went on the stage.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the pundits were saying what this speech is setting Ted Cruz up to be the conservative candidate when, if Trump is elected and falls on his face, then in 2020, Ted Cruz will be there to pick up the pieces.
So I want to get your take on what you thought about this.
Okay, well, at first blush, I was really angry because if you remember, the very first Republican debate, there was a call by one of the
I think it was Cruz himself.
Well, whoever it was said, everybody needs to take the pledge to support the candidate, whoever the candidate will be, come November, and he was leading the charge. And he's the only one. Well, of course, we haven't heard from Jeb Bush yet.
By the way, at that original rally everybody and get them to support Donald Trump, I don't believe took that pledge at that time.
He did not take the pledge. He did later.
But and then took it back.
Yeah,
a couple times. There was some back and forth, if I recall.
But I will say that if Donald Trump knew what was going to be in that speech, and there isn't any reason why he shouldn't have known, he's the candidate, for crying out loud. In any national convention, the candidate kind of rules the roost. Who do you want to speak? What do you want to be? Because this is the whole deal, is to launch him or her into the national spotlight with a great big push to go towards Election Day. So if Donald Trump did know what was in Ted Cruz's speech and allowed him to speak anyway, that tells me that he is secure enough in himself and in his position and in his the populist support that he can let Ted say whatever he wants and it's not going to bother him.
Well, maybe he did know. What if this is all a grand scheme because Cruz didn't come out and say a whole bunch of nasty things about Donald Trump?
Of course not.
And what if they're just saving this for another news cycle? Because now it will be a big story if Cruz were to come forward and support Trump.
Right.
And maybe that would be better after the Democratic nomination or right in the middle of it or during a vice presidential announcement.
Or are we just overthinking this?
Well, you can't overthink something like this.
Was Ted just being a petty jerk?
I think that is more likely. So Ted, I actually want to play this other clip first.
All right.
Ted Cruz has explained why he didn't endorse Donald Trump. And I mean, if anyone's heard this show, I have problems supporting Donald Trump myself, so I can sympathize. I didn't particularly support Ted Cruz either, but everybody's called him out. Hey, you promised. You gave your word that you would support the candidate.
Right.
And yeah, Ted must be Lion Ted in this instance to not follow up on his word here, right?
Right.
So here's Ted Cruz explaining why.
Well, no, is this
I don't want to play the Christie one. I want to play Ted Cruz. Maybe I didn't. Well,
which one is it?
Oh, boy. I'll go. Why don't you play the Christie one, and I'll go get the other clip while you play that.
All right. So here we go. This is Chris Christie responding to the Cruz speech. Here we go.
Your reaction to those chants of endorse to what unfolded as Ted Cruz told delegates to vote their conscience?
It was an awful, selfish speech by someone who tonight, through the words he said on that stage, showed everybody why he has richly earned the reputation that he has on Capitol Hill. The fact is, Hallie, we all 17 of us signed a pledge saying that we would support whoever the nominee was without qualifications. And I don't understand how someone could present himself as a person of integrity and then come into this room tonight and give that cute speech he gave. And that was cute. Don't stay home in November. Vote from the people that you like from top to the bottom of the ticket. I just think it was an awful performance by someone who showed himself tonight to not be a man of his word.
Governor, thanks so much. Trump just left. In fact, that's his motorcade there, his family's motorcade. We just saw his children leave as well. They didn't react, neither Eric nor Don Jr. nor Ivanka. But when I asked Donald Trump how he felt about the Cruz speech, he turned around, he said, "I loved it," and he walked away. I asked why, and he didn't respond. You can bet that this will be driving the storyline tomorrow. Really remarkable moments that we saw out on that convention floor.
All right, here we go.
By the way, Trump's plane flew over the convention hall during that speech.
Really?
that's one of the reasons why it does seem totally orchestrated to me. Finally, I wanted to say one real quick thing about what Cruz is about to say. So this morning, Peter and I were talking, and Peter said, well, Cruz is just a big liar. And I said, well, think about it this way. When Cruz made that promise, it was before Trump accused his father of being a murderer associated with shooting JFK. It was before he called his wife ugly. It was before a whole bunch of the really horrible things that went on in this campaign, most of which, by the way, were from Trump. And if someone had done that to your wife or accused your father of being a murderer, would you want to support them? And frankly, if anyone were to stand here and someone were to call my wife ugly, and then someone were to call my father a murderer, and then say, hey, well, you need to support me now because I won the party, I would say, well, forget you. My wife is more important to me. My father is more important to me. Ethical behavior is more important to me than just following the party line.
Okay, so here we go. Here's what Mr. Cruz said.
I stood on that debate stage, and they asked every candidate there, if you don't win, will you support the nominee? I raised my hand, and I raised my hand enthusiastically, with full intention of doing exactly that. And I'll tell you the day that pledge was abrogated. The day that was abrogated was the day this became personal. And as I said at the time, and I'm not going to get into criticizing or attacking Donald Trump, but I'll just give you this response. I am not in the habit of supporting people who attack my wife and attack my father. And that pledge was not a blanket commitment that if you go and slander and attack Heidi, that I'm going to nonetheless come like a servile puppy dog and say thank you very much for maligning my wife and maligning my father.
Wow.
And I will note, sir, you're making crying signs in the back. I will note, sir, that you might have a similar view if someone were attacking your wife. In fact, I hope you would. I hope you would.
This is politics.
No, this is not politics. I will tell the truth. I will not malign. I will not insult. I will not attack. I will tell the truth. This is not a game. It is not politics. Right and wrong matters. We have not abandoned who we are in this country. No, sir, I do not believe that is correct.
Wow. Okay, we're way over a break, so we'll be right back. 721-1290 is our number. You have a comment? Love to hear from you. Newstalk time now, 8:54, and we are, this is amazing, we are running fast out of time, but 4 lines are open, 4 lines are full, I should say. Dave, real quickly, what's on your mind?
Well, I can respect Cruz, what he did. It may not be politically right, but it may hurt him politically, but it is. I can respect that. What I don't respect is Christians who say they won't vote for Hillary because she didn't leave her husband, but will vote for Trump because he cheated on his wife. That's just a double standard to me.
Okay, thanks, Dave. Appreciate the call. Alan, you're on Talkback. Go ahead.
Yes, good morning.
Hi.
I told my wife yesterday if Ted Cruz goes ahead and endorses Trump, I would lose all respect for him. I was a big Cruz supporter. I still respect Ted Cruz. If Trump loses this election, it won't be because Cruz didn't support him. It'll be because Trump didn't do the right things.
Okay. Thanks. Thank you for the call. Appreciate that, Alan. Eric, you're on Talkback. Go ahead.
I just hope the animosity between Cruz and Trump is real. It's not staged. I don't want to see another hug fest like happened between George H.W. and Bill Clinton, where now you know that the two are one. And as far as this trial of the 77-year-old man, it's proof that our crimes aren't against each other. Our crimes are against the state, and that's very dangerous. Thanks.
Okay, thanks for the call. And unfortunately, we are completely out of time. I have a hard break, Maryland. If you don't want to hang on, we'll try to get your call on after the top of the hour because I don't want to cut you off. So anyway, we have a special guest coming up at the 9 o'clock hour.
A little bit after
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
I told her my lines were full and we'd have to bump her back just a little bit. But we'll get her on after the top.
So we will be back after the top of the hour break. Thanks for holding, and stay with us. Welcome, everybody, back to Talk Back, brought to you by Silway Armory on Stockyard Road. More guns and ammo than anyone in Missoula. The best prices in Montana. Montana's premier firearms dealer. Diggett Excavating, bringing 30 years of excavation excellence to every job. Call 214-4292. And by Kootenai Creek Village, the maintenance-free active adult community in Stevensville. 777-5387 for the best of western Montana living. Okay, here we are back once again, hour number 2. Good morning, Mr. King.
Good morning, Peter.
All right, let's get back to the phones and say thank you to Marilyn for waiting so patiently. Go ahead.
No problem. Okay, I'm learning that Reagan never came out and endorsed Ford because of personal attacks back in that day. And if Trump turns out to be the Democrat Trojan horse that some think that he is, a lot of people will have egg on their face who have come out and endorsed him. I don't think Ted Cruz said anything wrong. He said vote your conscience and vote the Constitution and vote down ticket. I don't think he said anything wrong. And then I heard that the people in the arena there, security had to get Heidi out of there, whisk her out of there quick because the crowd turned on her.
Well, they were heckling her a little bit, yeah.
So, Marilyn, I want to follow this up because I think there is a valid argument that many people make about Ted Cruz's position here. If you're not supporting Mr. Trump and you say you're not supporting Hillary Clinton and you believe all of the horrible things that you have said about what Hillary Clinton would do to this country, are you not choosing your personal pride over the country?
Okay, me personally, I'm going to speak for myself. I've been watching the whole convention as much as PBS will let me watch, and I'm telling you what, their reactions to this whole thing, I mean, they're so biased, it's just so sickening. But downcast faces, I mean, they just hate it when the attacks come on Hillary and lock her up. I have loved it. And I have loved the speeches of the kids. I mean, Donald Trump and his 3 wives have done something right. I mean, their kids are brilliant and wonderful. And, and as the convention's been going on, I'm like, well, I don't want Hillary because I've read a ton of books about her. I know how corrupt she is. And for Dave, I'm not voting for her because she didn't leave her husband. That's really? No, I'm not voting for her because she's an unindicted felon, to use Mark Levin's words. She should be in prison. And I have loved the people that have come out at the convention and told the truth about her. I loved what Chris Christie did. I thought that was awesome, and I've never cared for Chris Christie at all, but
Marilyn, we got to take another call, and then we got a guest coming on. Thanks so much for your time.
Thanks for the call. Ted, you're on Talkback. Go ahead.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
There are 2 types of people in this world that I do not like, and that's a liar and a thief. And Ted Cruz is both of them. He's disgraced this country. He's disgraced the Republican Party, and I'm just done with him. He's the scum of the earth.
Now, Ted, hold on. Why is Ted Cruz a thief?
He stole Ben Carson's votes. He's a thief. He's trying to steal this election from Donald Trump. He's not an honest person. A lion Ted is the perfect name for him.
Are you sure he's not just trying to set himself up for a run in 2020?
If he did, he will not have my vote. I would vote for a Democrat before I voted for him because that's what he's wanting you to do in this election.
It's a Trump supporter that sounds like a Cruz supporter. I'm serious because that's what a lot of Cruz supporters are saying. I would vote for a Democrat over Trump. Yeah,
I understand that.
You expressed it.
It is what it is, John. Ted Cruz, in my opinion, has disgraced this country. Thank you very much. All right. That's all I have to say.
Thanks for the call. All right, 721-12.
You don't like liars or thieves. Picking a president this election cycle is going to be a tough decision.
Or is it now in your view, John? Is it the lesser of 2 evils still?
I told you, I still am undecided. I really have a hard time with this election. I have to choose who will do the least amount of harm for this country rather than whose ideas I like best, and I think that's sad.
Okay. Tell you what, should we take our break and then get our guest?
Yeah, we have
on?
a guest coming up.
Yeah, we do. So we'll take a break just a little bit early. 721-1290 is our number, 1-800-568-5309. And we're coming right back. We're going to talk about money and politics, especially state politics, when we return. Hey, we're back on Talkback. Our number is 721-1290, and we do have a special guest on the phone all the way from Helena. John, what's going on?
Yeah, exotic Helena.
Yeah, fabulous Helena.
Well, Helena is actually the site of the group followthemoney.org. They track spending in elections across the 50 states. And I don't know, maybe they do Puerto Rico. We'll find out. We're speaking now with their managing director, Denise Roth Barber. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Well, so first off, tell us a little bit about what you folks do over there at followthemoney.org.
So we're a nonprofit, nonpartisan research organization, and what we do is we go to each of the 50 states and gather all the campaign finance reports that are filed by people who are running for state-level office, and we put all that data together for the public for free at followthemoney.org so that people can easily obtain information about who is funding the political campaigns at the state level.
Now, I can tell you as a reporter, followthemoney.org has a lot of the same information you could get from your for example, in Montana, the Political Practices Commissioner's website. But it's easy to read.
Right.
It's a little bit...
and also like the Montana's website has a lot of paper reports. So if a person wants to know how much a certain donor is giving across the board, they have to open up all these paper reports as well as looking at the electronic file. And that's what we do is we put it all together into one database.
Now,
so that's the benefit of using our website. And we also standardize the names and assign an industry code to each donor. So you could say how much money are people from the health insurance industry giving, or how much money from the oil and gas is being given. So we have some added value to the data.
So why is followthemoney.org in exotic Helena, as we were mentioning at the beginning of the show?
Well, we used to be part of an 8-state regional organization, and Montana was one of those 8 states, and that was back in the in the 80s or in the early 90s. And then when other states saw this collective website, they said, "Hey, we want in too." So the organization in 1999 became a 50-state nonprofit organization. It used to be a project of another group. And we were still in Helena, but we thought, why move, even though we're 50 states?
And it's really exotic around here. So now that you're in all 50 states, you've probably got your finger a little bit or on the pulse of which states are more difficult to get information out of and which states are easier. What do you find the most... What state makes you spend the most time or more hair-pulling out moments than other states?
Oh, that's a great question. We actually have a disclosure scorecard on our website where we have ranked states on how well they disclose the information to the public. I'd have to pull that up to look. But it's those states that still provide the reports only on paper, which in 2016 is a little ridiculous. Everything is electronic anymore, and you should be able to get the information in a database format. So we still have, I think in Arkansas they have handwritten reports. So not only is it a paper report, but you have to then decipher the handwriting.
You mean it's actually handwritten?
Right.
Oh, wow. Well, I think maybe that'd be a good thing. I don't know.
So it sounds to me like Arkansas is high up on your list.
Arkansas, there's a lot of room for improvement in Arkansas and any state that does paper. And Montana only recently joined the electronic age in terms of requiring now legislators to file electronic reports.
Well, you know, I know one really famous person that came from Arkansas, just so you know.
Well, welcome, Bill. Thanks for coming by. Talk back.
I feel your pain, John. I do. You're looking at Donald Trump. I know you don't want to vote for the man. I don't know what to tell. I got somebody here you could vote for.
Oh, thank you, Bill. Now, Denise, I have to ask you, one of the things I really wanted to talk to you about on the show today was the influence of money in Montana's gubernatorial race. So obviously you're tracking the spending. Can you tell us like what kind of groups or who is behind Governor incumbent Democrat Steve Bullock and his opponent Republican Greg Gianforte?
So I have both good and bad news. So the good news is that in Montana, most of political campaigns are funded by small individual donations, not a handful of well-heeled special interest donors. So, this is applied even to the gubernatorial races right now. If you look at where Gianforte and Bullock are getting their money, it's mostly from individual donors, not these special interest PACs who are, I might want to give somebody $50, and then you have this special interest PAC who wants to give $50,000. We're not outnumbered here in Montana. Individual donors still rule the roost. And I find that heartening because it gives individuals a major role in funding these elections. So that's the good news. And that's true for both, like I said, Bullock and Gianforte. The primary difference between those two right now, and it's still early, but is that Greg Gianforte has provided almost half of the money that he's raised directly from his own money. There's nothing wrong with that.
I was going to ask you if there's anything legally or morally objectionable to you folks about that.
No, I mean, we don't have an opinion on limits. We try and stay out of that fray. We just want to make sure, though, whoever is spending money, whether it's the candidate themselves or a special interest or whomever, as long as the public has full access to that information, that's what we advocate. But no, there's nothing wrong with Gianforte giving money to his own campaign. I will say, though, that historically, if people fund the vast majority of their own campaign, they tend to lose. So it's not always very strategic to do that. But he's not up in that category. It's less than half. So now back to the sort of the bad news, if you will. I don't know if you really can call it bad news, but where the special interests are coming in, and this is, of course, on both sides, is the third-party spending. All the spending that's going on that the candidates supposedly have nothing to do with, right? So all that outside spending.
Now, hold on just real quickly. Is that where the Citizens United decision comes in? Okay.
That's right.
All right.
So the Supreme Court said as long as they're not coordinating with the candidate, it's independent, and therefore there can be no corruption of the money coming in because they're not working with the candidate, and as a result, all that money, it's unlimited. So anybody who wants to spend any amount of money can do so as long as it's independent of the candidate's campaign.
So if I was a huge fan of Steve Bullock and I lived in, say, Florida, and I owned a huge company, and I didn't, if I created a PAC or whatever they call it, and as long as it was not the least bit coordinated with Steve Bullock, I could pour a couple of $1 million in the state and it would be okay, right?
You certainly can, and
wow.
And that is what's happening.
Now, you said you did use, despite Peter's call for a moral question earlier, you used the word disheartening when you talked about this type of spending. Why do you find it disheartening?
Because it makes the individual citizens, their role less important to the candidate in terms of, like I said, if I want to give $50, right now my $50 matters to any candidate I want to give that money to because they amass, tons of $50 contributions. So collectively, we as individual citizens, our donations matter to when it comes to direct contributions to candidates. But if somebody's coming in with $750,000 and running a bunch of ads and sending out a bunch of mailers, whether they come from Montana or not, then all of a sudden they have just a louder voice.
Sure. Well, I mean, money speaks, right? So if you have more money in many ways, you have more influence in the world. But I guess my question for you is, a lot of people will see that as an admirable aspect of our political free speech, an ability to get involved in politics in a group form. If I combine my money with Peter's through a PAC, we can speak louder than we could individually. And if we get 800 other people to do so, we could speak even louder.
Except that's the difference. Most of these huge third-party groups are not getting a bunch of money from 800 people.
Are some?
Depends.
Yes, there are some.
I don't know.
There are some.
This year, we're going to get more information on that. They didn't require the reporting of all kinds of spending, and now they do this year.
Okay.
So we'll have an answer to that question later when all the reports come in. But my guess is most of that is if you are a large donor, you have a lot of money, either as an individual or your company can give a lot of money, then that's what we see in it largely with this outside spending, is it's funded primarily by large donors.
Okay, we're going to come right back. We're up against a break. Our guest is Denise Roth Barber. She's the managing director at followthemoney.org. Now, this isn't just a Montana organization. This is a nationwide organization. And so if you have a question or a comment for Denise, lines are open at 721-1290. We're coming right back. Okay, we're back on Talkback. I'm Peter Christian, John King over there, Denise Roth Barber joining us. Now, Denise, we've been talking a little bit about the gubernatorial campaign, but one campaign that has not really garnered as much attention as others, even though it's actually more important nationally, perhaps, is the race for Congress between incumbent Ryan Zinke and the challenger, Denise Juneau, because we have two, radically different candidates. We have a former Navy SEAL, a real conservative Republican, and yet on the other hand, we have the first Native American ever elected to state office, Denise Juneau. She wants to be only the second woman ever elected to Congress from Montana. First, of course, was Jeanette Rankin. And so is that a race that you folks have been studying as far as the money?
No, we actually don't follow any one particular race because we don't have a dog in the fight,
sure.
Right?
Okay.
So what we do is we provide that information on our website so people can look into it and come to their own conclusions, find out what's going on, have easy access to the data.
Yeah, and it's also true, if my understanding is that it's a lot harder to follow spending on federal races. Congressional, Senate seats, president, these are races that are often outside of the bounds of state limits on campaign spending and restrictions on how you have to report that spending, right?
Right, they have a whole different set of rules to follow than Montana's rules, that's right. But it's actually easier to follow the spending in federal races because the rules are clearer and more thorough.
Really? All this talk about Montana's great rules, and not you necessarily, but we've heard people trumpet our rules before.
Yeah, especially Jonathan Model, yeah.
And you think that the federal government does it better. It would be great to hear the argument that the federal government does anything better, so I'm waiting for it.
Right. Well, so the federal government, in terms of the spending, has made it very clear you have to disclose who the donors are, and although both Montana and the federal government fail to get at the original source of the donor, and only a few states are tackling that problem. And that, we'll have to just maybe address that in the next legislature. A spender can say, oh, we got our money from America is Great PAC. And who is America is Great? We don't know. Nobody knows. The public doesn't know. And so the rules should say we need to find out who America is Great gets their money from.
Yeah,
and we don't care that they're attacked.
America is Great is really deceptive. If it was Make America Great, I'd have a strong idea.
Okay, yeah.
Well, now
remember, we're nonpartisan.
Allow me to ask you. You and I were talking a little bit during the break about remaining confidential with your spending and with your speech, because one of the things we brought up is during the Revolutionary War, in the run-up to that, there were pamphleteers who were able to publish by remaining anonymous because they were afraid that if people knew who they were, there would be retribution. They could be, arrested, hanged, shot, whatever.
The Federalist Papers were written anonymous.
Right. Yeah. So I guess was that, I wonder if that's part of the impetus with the Citizens United decision that allowing people to remain anonymous within the corporation itself. The corporation represents these people, but from what I understand, the search is, well, we don't want just ABC Corporation. We want to know who the people were in that corporation and how much each of them spent. Is that kind of what you're looking for?
Yeah, I mean, a little known fact about the Citizens United ruling is that the Supreme Court, while they said corporations should, they have the right to spend unlimited amounts because it's independent, they also said, all of them, the Citizens United was like 5-4, but in an 8-1 ruling, or opinion within that ruling, 8-1 said, disclosure is imperative, and the public has a right to know, and the government has the right to require full disclosure. And so the impetus for Citizens United wasn't to help people hide their money. In fact, it was the opposite. It said you can spend freely, but the public has a right to know who you are.
Okay.
So when it comes to this issue of money and speech and Buckley v. Vallejo and the Citizens United decision, it seems to me that you guys have to take a position on some of those, right?
No, we don't. The only position we take is full disclosure. We just want to make sure if there's whatever money is being spent, we just want to make sure it's fully disclosable.
Well, we don't have that right now, right?
Right. No,
because of Citizens United. So you want to reverse the current trend. Partly because of Vallejo as well. But.
So what happened with Citizens United is that all of a sudden all these PACs formed, and they're hiding under the IRS's code, saying if you're a nonprofit, you don't have to publicly reveal your donors to the IRS because you're in existence to promote the social welfare, right? And that's fine. But the minute that group spends money politically, then that money that they spend politically needs to be disclosed. So in other words, the entire membership of the group can remain private. But if the group spends, say, $100,000 on politically active speech, the public needs to know where that $100,000 came from.
Okay,
gotcha.
And with that, we're up against another break. So hang on. We have a caller. We have Joe that wants to visit with you, Denise. We have 2 other lines open. You have a question or comment, this is a wonderful opportunity because, like I said, this is a national organization that's based right here in Montana, and we'll be right back. Okay, we are back on Talkback. 721-1290 is our number, 1-800-568-5309. John King. I'm Peter Christian. Denise Roth Barber, Managing Director of FollowTheMoney.org, on the phone with us. And tell you what, Denise, we do have a caller. Let's get to him right now and say good morning to Joe. Joe, you're on with Denise. Go ahead.
Thank you. My basic premise is that the largest corporation in the world is the United States government. And when Quebec wanted to separate, and they were holding a vote in Canada, Ottawa rented all the billboards so that no one could advertise for pro-Quebexit from Canada. Anyway.
I love that, Quebexit. That's perfect. Yes,
the word existed at the time.
That's nice.
Yeah, but anyway, it's one time I lobbied at the legislature, and I got to the legislator's office, and there was a guy from an agency of Montana government who was giving him a draft bill, and they were writing the bill for a legislator. Anyway, I could go on, but I'll just listen for your comments.
Okay, thanks for the call, Joe. So what do you think, Denise?
I don't know. I didn't hear a question in there.
He seemed to be going along the lines that I really didn't get a question either, but his thoughts were that the governments are giant corporations and that perhaps stronger independent corporations are a balancing power to this. That's kind of what I thought he was saying.
And yet, does the U.S. government itself donate to political campaigns, or is it all done in the smoke-filled rooms that we used to hear about?
Government doesn't make any direct contributions or any kind of contributions whatsoever. It is true, though, that government agencies will lobby their legislatures, so they spend money lobbying both the state and federal government.
But
the government spends money on politics in other countries fairly recently.
But do those legislative agencies, do they have to declare themselves in Montana?
Yep.
Like to Jonathan Bodel, to the Political Practices Commissioner, as a registered committee, lobbying on this behalf, right?
Yes, they do.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when President Obama flew over to England, speaking of Brexit, to speak and try to get people not to vote for Brexit, well, we paid for that flight. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
we ended up paying for a lot of political speech indirectly.
Yeah.
So Denise, I wanted to jump back into state politics. So you were talking about the gubernatorial race, but there's lots of other little tiny races and things that happen. There's local candidates that are running against each other. Maybe nobody in their own town might even know their name. So, I mean, do you have access to all that information?
Yeah, I mean, the public has access to that information, too, via the Secretary of State's office and the Office of Political Practices. So we do as well, because as a member of the public, we go and collect that information and just collate it, if you will, into our website. So I'm not sure what information else you were speaking to.
Well, I mean, I guess so. You have local. You have statewide candidates as well.
County commissioners, things like that.
We don't actually. From a resource perspective on our end, we don't collect local data. So it's only people who run for state-level office, so from the legislature up through the governor.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And then we also do political parties and ballot measure campaigns.
What do you mean by political parties?
Oh, so we collect the reports filed by the Montana, for example, the Montana Democrat and Republican parties.
Oh, okay. So where they're spending their money.
Now, what about issues such as there were two marijuana initiatives that were battling to get on the ballot. One to relax the standards, and one to eliminate medical marijuana altogether. One made it onto the ballot, the other didn't. Now, in statewide things like that, do you follow those as well?
We do, but again, from a resource perspective, we have to decide what can we get, what do we, given our resources, what can't we get? So we only collect the campaign finance reports filed by committees working on measures that actually qualified and are going to be on the ballot. So, any money spent trying to get an initiative on the ballot, we don't collect until it's official that the ballot is going to be, that the measure is going to be voted on by citizens.
I wanted to have you maybe explain something to me. So my dad's a union guy. Montana is famously a kind of union state with the mines or the railroads. I mean, there's just a lot of big groups. But I've heard that unions and their spending is kind of categorized differently by the federal government than other groups. Is that true?
No.
So when a union spends money, is it like a PAC, or is it like an individual, or is it? They have to file reports with the FEC if they spend money, if they give to a candidate, or if they spend money. Regardless of who you are, whether you're a 501c3 or C4 or unions or C5s, you have to file reports with the federal government saying this is where we got our money and this is how we spent it and who we gave our money to. Now,
what happens? And again, maybe I'm getting in an area that you don't have access to. But let's say I'm a teacher, and the Montana Teachers Union is going whole hog for Denise Juneau. Okay, and I'm a union member. I pay my dues, and I don't want my dues to go to that candidate. I want to take that money that would have been donated on my behalf and give it to the other person. How does that work in a union situation? Are you you're pretty much out of luck, or what?
Democracy, right? So you have to, as a member, you have to go to the meetings and advocate that we support this candidate, not that candidate, and the majority wins.
Okay.
It's in other words, you're out of luck. You would have to convince other people to agree with you.
I'm used to being out of luck. Yeah,
and you have to help people get elected as leaders of the union to advance how you want the union to operate.
Well, now, do these different types of groups have the same? Well, we know, for example, that PACs don't have the same spending caps as me, John King, here in Missoula. I have a much more limited amount of money that I can use, not only because I don't make any money, but also because of campaign contribution caps in my state.
But those caps have been raised, from what I understand,
to like $250 or $500.
No. So just to clarify something, both individuals and political committees, so PACs, they have the same limit right now, which is $1,990 to the governor. So there's not one, in terms of direct contributions to the governor, a PAC can give no more than an individual.
So if I were an
directly, but they can spend their money on advertising all they want.
So can an individual.
Okay.
There's no limits on how much money can be spent independently by anybody, whether they're an individual or a PAC or a corporation, what have you.
We're up against a break, Denise. I wanted to ask you, when we come back from the break, if you would just chew on this for a second. There has been a movement for many, many years, advocated by lots of folks, saying, you know what, they're sick of hearing about all the money in politics. It's supposed to be the mother's milk of politics. It is corrupting. Do you support a movement that, especially nationally, that all campaigns should be federally financed? Each candidate gets a certain amount of money, and that's it.
Many countries do that.
So anyway, I want to ask you about that when we come back. And also, we have Myrna on the line, and we have two other lines open at 721-1290. We'll be right back. Okay, we are back on Talkback, 721-1290, 1-800-568-5309. Denise Roth Barber joining us on the telephone this morning from Helena, Managing Director of FollowTheMoney.org. And we do have a caller, so we'd like to get our callers on first. Myrna, you're on with Denise. Go ahead.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'd like to know whether it's legal for foreign countries to contribute to state campaign, a state campaign, like, for example, Juneau and Zinke.
Well, that's a national campaign.
It is. No, but that's a great question. It's actually being hugely debated as to how to address the problem of hiding donors, because the answer is no. No foreign money is allowed in our elections, state or federal. But the problem then is, how do we know, right? When you have a spender saying, "Oh, I'm a nonprofit, I don't have to reveal my donors,"
right.
Then now we have to say, well, how do we know it's not foreign money? And I know the FEC, the Federal Elections Commission, is currently grappling with that problem.
Well, the reason I was thinking about that is because the tribes consider themselves a foreign nation, but Juneau is Indian, Zinke isn't.
I don't think tribes fit under the government's definition of foreign. They're sovereign.
They're a sovereign nation, yeah.
But
there's a difference.
But they are a government entity, even if it is from the United States. So, because, they get money from the Interior Department. Mm-hmm. So my question was, wouldn't that disqualify an endorsement of Juneau?
No, okay, so that's a great question, too. So they can endorse her, right? And I don't know who's endorsing her, but most of the times it's not the government so much as these associations that are not government per se. But they can't, you can endorse often when you can't contribute. So there's a bit of a difference there.
Oh.
So basically money is the deciding factor in all this, right?
Right. And it is a good question about, tribes per se. Can the tribe itself endorse a candidate, and does that I don't believe it. I don't know. I don't actually know that.
Well, that might be a good one for us to follow up with Mr. Model and the Political Practices
Bureau.
That's
right.
Well, it also begs the question, if it's happening, right? I don't know that it has happened, so you're kind of making a story out of a hypothetical.
Well, it could, because because there's newspapers with letters to the editor. Oftentimes, the tribe saying, that she's the pick because she's part Indian. So anyway, thank you for your information. And
thanks for your call, Myrna.
Thanks, Myrna. Have a great day.
We have a few Facebook questions.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, so starting with Katie. She says, where do you get your money?
So on our website, followthemoney.org, you'll see an About Us page, and that's where we show all of our funding. And we also put on our website all of our 990s, which are reports we have to file with the IRS. So, but in a nutshell, we get our money from foundations. Like over 90% of our money comes from foundations like Ford, Carnegie, Hewlett, Mertz Gilmore, and those are all, we make that easily available on our website because, we're all about disclosure. So we want to make sure we walk our talk.
Sure. Okay, let's get another caller on. This is Dave. All right, hold on just a minute. Dave, you're on Talkback. Go ahead.
Hey, good morning. What would happen? Would this be legal or not if let's say I was a governor of, let's say, New Jersey, and someone walked up to me and handed me $30,000, first said, well, let's be your friend. This is a loan. Here's $30,000, and a wink and a nod walks away.
I think we call that a bribe, Dave.
It's a loan.
We do track loans, and we treat them just like contributions, even if the loan is fully repaid.
Okay.
We will make sure it has to be reported. So if somebody takes $30,000 and just puts it in their pocket, that's illegal. So, but if that same donor says, here's $30,000, but it's a loan, and the candidate reports that, they'll say, I got $30,000 as a loan, and I paid them back like $25,000, or I paid them all back later. We make sure we collect all the loans.
How about a personal gift?
It's the same thing. You've got to report it. Even if you personally received a personal gift of $30,000, you'd have to put it in your taxes.
Right. You pay taxes on it. Mm-hmm. But that wouldn't necessarily be illegal.
No, giving gifts is not illegal, thank God, in the United States.
Right.
To an individual, right.
All right, Dave. Thanks, man. Appreciate the call. Okay, with that, we're up against another break, and I still haven't had a chance to have
By the way,
answer my question.
Both Peter and I are currently accepting $30,000 gifts.
Gifts, mind you.
Yeah.
Gifts. We're happy
I don't want to limit. I'm not putting any campaigns talk show hosts.
For instance, if somebody who won part of that $1.9 billion, Powerball thing, if they want to donate a couple of hundred grand to John and me, we'll be happy to do that. Matter of fact, we could redecorate the studio in your name. So, anyway, we'll be right back. Thanks for joining us on this absolutely fantastic day in western Montana. Beautiful sunshine here in Missoula. What's it like over there in Helena, Denise?
Same. Just blue sky, cool mornings.
I love that.
Well, there were some cloudy skies earlier for people in the Bernie Sanders campaign. I remember watching these articles roll out. People were outraged at the way that the Montana Democratic Party had decided to spend money on one candidate or another. And there's a whole bunch of politics behind it. But we have a question from Claire on this issue. She says, would your group know anything about this? Collusion between the Clinton campaign and the DNC allowed Hillary Clinton to buy the loyalty of 33 state Democratic parties last summer. Montana was one of those states. It sold itself for $64,100 and 13 pieces of silver. I was hoping you could...
30 pieces of silver.
Well, we're not quite that. It's not Jesus we're buying here. It's Hillary Clinton.
Okay. Sorry. That's inflation.
Yeah. So my question for you, Denise, since you said you follow party spending, what is behind this story?
We don't actually follow that whatsoever. All we follow is, we can show on our website the money that the Democratic Party raises, and then how much they give out. But we don't follow the politics of that, again, because we're a campaign finance research group. We're not a political group, so we don't get into any of those kind of frays whatsoever.
Okay, but you do follow campaign spending, right? From the parties.
Right.
So is there anything to this claim that...
I have no idea.
Okay.
I seriously can't comment on that.
She doesn't know.
Follow it at all.
So let's get back to my question that I had earlier. I'm not sure if it would put you guys out of business, but if the federal, if they did a constitutional amendment, I'm not sure what it would take to say no more money in politics. Corporations forget it. Individuals forget it. If you're going to running for president, each candidate gets $1 million. If you're running for governor, each candidate gets $100,000, and you're done. And so you use that money, and that's it. And that way, it eliminates all this temptation to buy a candidate. So, is that something that your organization would support, or is it like, nah?
Well, we don't have a position on any kind of limits, including public funding. We just, by design, we don't take positions on that so that our research can be unbiased.
Okay.
Now, your research, I assume, is used in lots of stories and probably broke some news from time to time. What are some of the big things that have been used with the information you produce?
Well, we recently came out with a multi-state lobbying expenditure database. And it's an incredibly painful operation to collect lobbying spending data in the states. But we have done so far in a pilot of 19 states, and Montana is not one of them.
What? One of the original 8.
I know.
You could meet all of our lobbyists. They're like next door to you.
Right.
Just knock on their doors.
And it's amazing. If we think the money spent on elections is a lot, it's pocket change compared to the money spent lobbying.
Wow. Give us some perspective.
Oh, gosh, I'd have to pull up some numbers for you, but I can do that.
That's okay.
We make them up, too. It's a talk show.
We have three full minutes, so go for it.
We'll do the Jeopardy music.
It's just a tiny percentage of the money spent on elections because, and this is where there are no limits on how much money you can spend lobbying, right? So you have companies and special interest groups. They can go and spend as much money as they want trying to talk to legislators and influence the policies.
But you still have to register as a lobbyist, right?
Sure.
Okay.
Right, which is why, but unfortunately, most states do not require the lobbyists or the clients to disclose how much they pay their lobbyists, and that's actually the vast majority of the money spent.
Oh, is on the individual who's doing the lobbying.
Right.
Interesting.
I mean, that is the vast majority. For state spending, we haven't analyzed federal spending, so I can't speak to that. And I actually misspoke. We do have Montana lobbying data, and it's from 2011 to 2015, $14.5 million was spent lobbying. And remember, we're only every other year. So.
Who was the biggest spender in Montana on lobbying?
Oh, let me see if I can get to that really quick. Oh, that's a great question.
We're going to call them.
Yes. We're going to lobby them for information.
Yeah, let me.
And also for
I'll have
a job.
to pull that up. I don't have it memorized.
Oh, okay. All right.
No, that's okay.
So when you talked about earlier, you said it was pocket change. That the spending we do on elections is pocket change. Do you have an idea of how much that is?
So we have in the 19 states that we have data for, and we have it in mostly 2012, 13, and 14, we have documented $9.2 billion spent lobbying in these 19 states.
Now, that's just spent lobbying, not.
That's just lobbying. California, and we have more years for California just because they had it available, so we took it. So it's kind of hard to compare. But let me see. I think we have Montana, so let me look.
So doesn't lobbying sound like it's almost about, like it sounds like it's loitering. Like you're really close.
See, I disagree with that. I mean, lobbying is our democracy. We have the ability and the right to lobby our elected officials and help influence our policies.
I like that you're standing up for the lobbyists, but you weren't like in support of the PACs earlier.
No,
go lobbyists.
I'm saying, you can be a group of parents who care about the food that your kids are being fed in school lunches. So you can form a group and lobby the state legislature to say, hey, we want local food. And
Denise, I'm sorry, we are completely out of time. So tell us how we can get in touch with your organization to get more information.
Yeah, go to followthemoney.org.
Excellent. And thank you. We want to have you on again, okay?
Sure.
Welcome. Thanks so much.
You
can come. You can next time you're in Missoula, you can just drop by.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Denise.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, there you go. So that was fun.
Yeah.
Billions and billions of dollars.
8 billion.
What's coming up on tomorrow's
I don't know.
show?
It's open phones.
Open phones. We have catching the big ones and then talk back from 9 to 10. Have a great day, everybody.